I'm Lorelei Day with the City of San Angelo. Today we're here with Bob Salas, Director of Neighborhood and Family Services, and Stephanie Hamby, Director of Galilee Community Development Corporation. We're here today talking about the homeless situation in San Angelo. Hi Bob, hi Stephanie.
Hello.
Thanks for having us, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So can we start off a bit just talking about the homeless situation currently in San Angelo?
You know, I think any city over 100,000 has a homeless problem. And cities across the nation are having a difficult time coming up with solutions, especially permanent solutions. San Angelo is not an exception. We've kind of ebbed and flowed as far as our numbers go. The last 4 or 5 years, we've gone from 70 to 100, to 200, to over 300, and we're back down to 70. And I think it's important for citizens to know that there are two types of homelessness. One is what we call situation homeless. People and families who have become homeless due to a family crisis. They lost a job. Perhaps they lost some kind of income. Those individuals are easy to deal with. They're ready and willing to participate in our programs. They're ready and willing to meet all the requirements for some of our programs. Then you have what you call chronic homeless. Those folks have been homeless for at least a year or more, some 15, 20 years. It is their way of life. They're unwilling to participate as easily as the other type. And those are the ones you kind of see out in the streets a lot. So we've created some programs to help deal with the chronic and the situation of homeless. So unfortunately, we continue to struggle trying to come up with a solution as well.
How much of a person's homelessness is due to circumstances beyond their control?
I think early on, most everybody becomes homeless, not because they want to become homeless. It's like I said, either situations occurred or they've got into some kind of lifestyle that's caused them to become homeless. Perhaps addicted to drugs or alcohol. Some have mental health issues and they can't help that. So now the question is, what do you do to get out of that homelessness situation? And that's a different discussion.
Okay. So during COVID-19 lately, how has that impacted homelessness in San Angelo?
Well, one of the things we needed to come up with was a temporary solution to quarantine homeless individuals. We came up working with the Salvation Army. We funded through a community development block grant. We used some funding to create a quarantine program. If someone needs to get quarantined, they go to Salvation Army with a note from the medical facility, and we put them temporarily into a hotel until they go through the quarantine process.
So on that note, with the Salvation Army, they lost their emergency shelter. Can you talk about that and what the impact of that has been?
Stephanie, you want to take that?
I can. I would say that the closing of the shelter has impacted San Angelo in a couple of different ways. In one way, it has really dropped our numbers of homeless that are here, because when you don't have a shelter in which to house people, they typically don't stay around a whole lot. So that has gotten us back to the 70 people that Bob was talking about. So we really have a better understanding of our homeless numbers right now, because the ones that are here, a majority of them actually live in San Angelo and from San Angelo. So that has helped in that sense. But it has also made it harder because we don't have a place to shelter them when they are homeless, and that has created the problems that you see under the bridges and everything else.
Okay. So is the Salvation Army still playing any role in the homeless situation?
The Salvation Army runs a couple of programs. They do the Out of the Cold, and they work with Bob on the COVID-19, but they also provide case management. For people who come into the shelter, Debbie meets with them, and she does provide case management for them. She doesn't get a lot of people who come back to really work with it, but she has had some success in working with some people to get them into housing and everything.
Okay. You mentioned the Out of the Cold program. I don't know which one of you wants to answer that, but can you tell me a little bit about that, what it is?
Sure. We created that program about 2 years ago. We get some funding through the Homeless Coalition. And we basically, if the weather gets to 34 degrees or colder, we offer shelter for at least for the night until the weather warms up. Like Stephanie said, the Salvation Army managed that for us. And we've helped over 100, in the last 2 years, we've helped over 100 individuals through that program.
Okay. What other programs are in place?
Well, we have, like you mentioned, we have the COVID quarantine program. We also have a rapid rehousing program. That is basically aimed to get people into permanent housing as quickly as possible. They have to meet criteria, of course, and the criteria is you have to be in a shelter, you have to be on the street or somewhere, living somewhere that's in your car that's not conducive to living standards, or someone is paying for your hotel. Those are the three criteria, and those are set by HUD. If you're eligible, we're able to get you into permanent housing with through a partnership through the Public Housing Authority. And we've helped about 52 families in the last couple of years.
Switching gears a little bit, so can we talk about the Concho Valley Homeless Planning Coalition? Can you tell us about that and its functions?
Take that one.
So the Concho Valley Homeless Planning Coalition actually sits under Galilee CDC as one of our programs. We're their fiscal agent, so that way we can apply for grants and everything using our 501c3 status. So the coalition really started years ago, but it's really become a force within this community because of the involvement of all of our organizations. So the coalition is not just Galilee or the city working on this problem. The coalition is a group of organizations that all touch the lives of the homeless and serve them in some way. We have members from Legal Aid, ADAC, the Housing Authority, MHMR, Disability Connection. I mean, we have so many different organizations, and we all come together. We try to do it once a month. It's a little harder with all the restrictions now, and just understand what each organization is doing, what they're offering, what their goal is, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel to do it again. We can just go to the organization that already does that and figure out how we can all work together to solve the problem. So Galilee's role in it, other than housing them under our 501c3, we run a Project ID program for homeless. With a referral, they can come in and we'll write them a check so they can go get, not them a check, we'll write the check out to the Texas Department of Public Safety for an ID, or the county for birth certificates, and we help them get their IDs and their birth certificates, because that's the first hurdle that they have, is without an ID they can't really do anything. Mm-hmm. So we have that program. We have seen a decline in that program when the shelter closed, because they were our main referral source. So we still get referrals, just not as many, but that program is still up and running. The other thing that they do is the rapid rehousing that Bob is working on. That was part of a coalition project in working together and figuring out how to solve the problem.
Okay. Talking about Galilee CDC, can you tell me a little bit more about it?
So we are a nonprofit, and we handle everything that deals with affordable housing. So, which is why it was such a good fit to move the Homeless Coalition under us, because we do everything from new construction, we have rentals, transitional housing, we do repairs and remodels, we run the Helping Hands program. So anything that has to do with a remodel, a repair, or housing in general typically comes in through our office in one way or another. We collaborate with a lot of local organizations and other nonprofits to kind of work together on how we can solve some of the problems. If we can't do it, we just started a partnership with the COG, trying to help with some minor repairs for the area of aging with their clients. So we just do as much as we can just to help keep people in their homes or provide them new homes.
How would you say San Angelo's homeless situation compares to other communities?
I think we're in better shape, to be honest with you. Abilene has about 116 homeless. Midland has over 200. Lubbock has over 260 homeless. So we're in pretty good shape. I think because we have the numbers that we have, I think we get more bang for the buck through our programs.
Okay.
If I can add to that too, I think that San Angelo is an amazing community. So, it's not just the city, it's not just us working towards, ending homelessness, but it's everybody coming together, and I think that affects our community a lot as opposed to some of the other larger communities.
Now, I'm curious, whenever you're talking about the numbers of homeless people, how is that measured?
Every year we have a point-in-time count. It is one night, every city in Texas, they go out and they actually count homeless. We have volunteers through the Homeless Coalition, and we interview homeless to try to identify who they are, get some demographic information from them to see if we can to better fit our programs to what we have here in San Angelo.
Now, talking about from a resident standpoint, a lot of people will say that giving to homeless can kind of make the problem worse. What do you say to that?
I think people have to understand that panhandlers are not necessarily homeless, and homeless are not necessarily panhandlers. So when you give to someone on the corner, you have no idea if you're helping someone that's homeless or not. There's actually a lot of the panhandlers will have a circuit. They'll go from city to city, and they are not homeless. They have a place to stay. They just happen, that's their livelihood. That's how they make money. A lot of homeless, especially those with MHMR issues, those who are chronic homeless, a lot of those are not on the street collecting money. You see them other places.
Okay. What can San Angelo residents do to help the homeless situation?
I think what they can do is they can provide their support to some of the organizations in the Homeless Coalition. Organizations like the Galilee CDC, the Disability Connections, and all those that she mentioned. I think that's important to help us provide the case management that we need to help solve the problem.
I think I will say some of the success that we've seen this year. United Way came up with they had a grant. It was called an EFSP grant, and we applied for it. Galilee was the recipient of some of it. I know the Community Action Agency was as well. Our money went towards being able to house people, COVID-related, that had found themselves homeless into hotels for up to 30 days. And we were able to help, I think, more than 10 families find housing, and from that group, we then partnered with the Community Action Agency to use their CARES funding, so they went from the hotel into an apartment. So we kept them off the street by working together. So the United Way provided the funding to us, and then with our funding and the Community Action Agency's funding, we were able to walk these families through getting off the street, getting them into hotels, and then a little more case management, which is huge. Instead of just leaving them by themselves, having a case manager help them navigate this system. Because a lot of these families, what we're finding is they've never been in this situation before. People who are finding themselves homeless or not being able to pay their rent, a lot of them have never been in this position before. They've always been able to pay their rent, they've always been able to provide for themselves, but with everything that's happened, they're just at a point where they can't and they need help. And understanding the resources that are out here for people who've never had to use them before, it's a lot. It's overwhelming to try to navigate all that. So having organizations that work together and communicate and share resources really allowed us to keep them from being homeless and keep them from being overwhelmed. They could still work, they could still, do everything. We just helped them take care of the housing. And that partnership was huge, and it was a very successful program.
Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit about reaching out to people? Do these homeless individuals come to you or come to the program, or is it really more of an active outreach?
Galilee CDC itself does not do a lot of active outreach. Most people come to us because they know they've heard of us or they get referred to us or something like that. The Community Action Agency has done a great job of active outreach to people through all their programs, and they refer people into us. A lot of the organizations of the Homeless Planning Coalition, they act as the referral agency to us. So occasionally we'll get phone calls. The United Way their presence has been noticed a lot more, I think, and so they've been receiving a lot more phone calls, and so they send them to us as well. The city, we partner with them, and so we get referrals back and forth. And I think the city has done a good job of trying to talk about all the things we do and all the different programs and organizations and what's available out there. But I think stuff like this definitely helps get the word out about different organizations. You can always call our phone number, and if we can't help you, we're going to send you where we think your best source is going to be. And that's really how the coalition functions the best in San Angelo.
Okay. Bob, your department, Neighborhood and Family Services, recently received a HUD grant. Can you tell us about that?
We did. We applied, and again, it was a homeless coalition initiated project. We submitted the package. We're going to be we received $178,000, and we're going to work with the Public Housing Authority. The city, my department, will be the grant managers. The Public Housing Authority will be the day-to-day managers of the operation. The idea is, again, it's rapid rehousing. The idea is to get folks into a house, permanent housing, as quickly as possible. And to piggyback off of what Stephanie said about transitional housing, if we can create transitional housing, they can go from there to our rapid rehousing program. It will be, we're going to house up to 30 individuals or families. We say individual, but families as well. But it's going to provide case management, and that's the missing part that we've kind of missed throughout the programs. Case management is critical. It gets them through the hurdles that made them homeless in the first place, helps them navigate through the processes that are cumbersome for them. You'd be surprised how hard it is for a homeless person to go out and get an ID, or just to go get a service, Social Security or something like that. It's overwhelming for them. Case management will provide the hand-holding that they need to help them get through that and navigate through that. So hopefully they'll get out of their situation permanently. That's the goal. And again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times it's easier for those who are situationally homeless. They're ready. They're willing. The chronic, a little bit harder. And here's the thing about homelessness in the nation across the board. HUD is kind of that's the organization that kind of manages the funding for homelessness. They recommend and they support what they call a housing first concept, and that is get people off the street right away, regardless of what the situation. Don't make them go get case management right away. Make it at their time when they're willing to reach out and get that extra services that they need. Don't force them to do anything. That's been around for about, I'd say about 10 years or so, and there's a lot of positive results based on housing first concepts. So we are going to have to do that. We're going to have to follow that concept and that program. So our rapid rehousing will be a housing first program.
Now, unfortunately, we know that many of the homeless individuals struggle with substance abuse or addiction. What programs are available to help with that?
I think the biggest ones are going to be ADAC in their services that they offer, as well as MHMR. So those are the two biggest organizations I know that are part of the Homeless Planning Coalition that serve that group. And we hear from them. They attend the meetings, so we know kind of what's going on. We know how to refer them out to people to them. And then they reach out to us, and we kind of help when we can. But those are the two best solutions for San Angelo.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else either of you would like to add?
Let me close by saying that the homeless problem in San Angelo is a community problem. It's not a single organization that's going to handle it. It is a tough problem to deal with and to address. The coalition will continue doing their best to try to meet the needs of the homeless here in San Angelo, and that's all we can do. So that's how I would kind of conclude.
Okay. Stephanie, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to, point out that this city it's a very generous city, and it's a great place for everybody here. And I think they do a good job of trying to meet the homeless where they are and help them as much as they can. So it's great to work for them.
Okay. Well, thank you both for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
For more information, visit our website at cosatx.us.